Have you ever stood in a museum, lost in the quiet hum of history, and found yourself being watched, not by a guard or a fellow visitor, but by a snake? It's there, coiled around the staff on an Egyptian pharaoh, a symbol of divine power and protection. You turn a corner, and it's there again, wrapped around the torso of a Greco-Roman statue, a creature of medicine and healing. But then you remember another painting from another time, a twisted form in a garden, whispering from a tree, the very embodiment of temptation and the fall from grace. How is it that this one creature, this limbless, silent, ever-watching serpent, has slithered its way into every corner of our artistic imagination? And how can it possibly mean opposing things? In the dust of ancient empires, it was a guardian of life itself, a symbol of eternity, yet in the whispers of myth and the shadows of scriptures, it became the very bringer of death and sin. It is both the feared venom that kills and the sacred antidote that saves. It's the Ouroboros, the snake eating its own tail, the perfect paradoxical symbol of creation and destruction, infinity and nothingness all at once. So why the snake? Why has this primal ancient fear and fascination been our constant muse? Join me as I unravel the fascinating, twisting evolution of the serpent's artistic identity. We'll trace its path from the sacred sands of Egypt to the hallowed halls of the Renaissance, and right into the heart of our modern psyche. It's a journey that will change what you think you know about this most enigmatic of symbols, and reveal just how deeply its story is coiled around our own. Before the serpent was a villain, it was a creator. To our ancestors, the snake's very biology was a profound, magical puzzle. It would shed its skin, emerging glossy and new, as if reborn. It didn't age, it just renewed itself. In a world where decay and death were constant fears, the serpent seemed to hold the secret to eternal life. This miracle of regeneration made it the ultimate symbol of creation and fertility. Take the Ouroboros, that simple, elegant circle of a snake consuming itself. For the Egyptians, it was known as Mehen, meaning the coiled one. It wasn't an image of suicide, but of cyclicality. The end is the beginning. Death feeds life. It was a map of the cosmos, of the Nile's annual flood that died back to its bank only to rise again, bringing fertile black soil that birthed a civilization. The Ouroboros was a promise that the world would keep turning, that life would always return. And this life-giving force was deeply feminine. In the prehistoric goddess cults of the ancient world, from the Minoans on Crete to the templates of Anatolia, the serpent was a constant companion to powerful deities. It was coiled in the arms of Minoan snake goddess, a figure of awe, power, and domestic sanctity. These weren't creatures of terror. They were protectors of the hearth, guardians of the home, and symbols of the earth's deep. The snake which navigates the darkness below and The world above was the perfect bridge between the fertile, unseen depth of the earth and the world of the living. The Greeks captured this in Asclepius, the god of medicine. His staff, the rod of Asclepius, with a single serpent coiled around it, remains our symbol of health to this day. But why? The story is deeply practical. Ancient physicians would have observed that a snake's venom could kill, but in tiny controlled doses, it could also be an antidote. The snake, a creature that could cause and cure illness, was the ultimate emblem of a healer's power. It represented wisdom, prudence, and the dual nature of medicine itself. Patients in Asclepius temples would undergo incubation, which was sleeping in halls where non-venomous snakes would slither over them, believing to be the god's agents, transmitting healing dreams and sacred knowledge. But this benevolent, life-giving image, this protector of kings and healer of the sick, was not universal. For in the shadows of other traditions, the serpent's intimate knowledge of the hidden world, its primal power and its perceived deception began to tell a different story, a darker one. The very same creature that would symbolize eternal life in one culture would, in another, become the one who introduced death into the world. And so we arrive at a story that would, for centuries in the Western world, override all others, the story in the Garden of Eden. Here, the serpent undergoes a profound and devastating transformation. In the ancient world, it was a symbol of life and wisdom. In the Genesis narrative, it becomes the vehicle of temptation and the catalyst for the fall from grace. This was a seismic shift in the serpent's artistic identity. The creature that knew the secrets of eternity now knew the secrets of sin. In Christian art, from illuminated manuscripts to the soaring ceilings of Renaissance chapels, the scene is painted with agonizing humanity. We see Eve not as a caricature of evil, but as a relatable woman who is curious, intelligent, and engaged in conversation, and coiled around the tree of knowledge, or sometimes depicted with a human-like head to emphasize its cunning, is a serpent. It's not a monstrous dragon. It is subtle, persuasive, and intimate. It leans in, it whispers, it doesn't force, it convinces. This is the genius and the tragedy of its portrayal. The serpent doesn't offer something blatantly evil. It offers knowledge. It appeals to the most human of traits, the desire to understand, to be like God, to step beyond a boundary. In that moment, the serpent becomes synonymous with doubt, with free will, with the fracturing of perfect obedience. The original sin it introduces isn't just about disobedience. It's about the profound, complicated burden of knowledge itself. And with that knowledge comes expulsion, mortality, and pain. Death itself enters the world. The serpent, once a symbol of eternal life, is now irrevocably tied to its opposite. But this vilification wasn't confined to the Judeo-Christian world. A parallel thread was weaving through global mythology, where the serpent shed its skin entirely to become a monstrous adversary. Across cultures, the serpent grew in size and terror becoming the dragon. And what did this dragon almost always do? They hoarded, they imprisoned, they corrupted the life-giving force the serpent once embodied. In Mesopotamia, the storm god Marduk battles the primordial sea serpent dragon Tiamat, representing chaos. In Norse myths, the great serpent Jomungandr encircles the world, waiting to unleash chaos during Ragnarok. These are cosmic battles of order versus chaos. But perhaps the most human and enduring of these stories is that of St. George and the dragon. Medieval artists love this tale. The dragon is no longer a subtle tempter. It is chaos made flesh, a terrifying, scaly, fire-breathing beast that demands human sacrifice. It is a plague upon the land, a blight of fertility. And then comes George, the knight in shining armor. His battle is not just heroic, it is sanctified. When he slays the dragon, he isn't just killing a monster, he is conquering paganism, evil, and the devil himself, often depicted as a serpent or dragon in Christian theology. The victory is clean, clear, and moral, yet even here, in its most villainous portrayals, the serpent retains an undeniable and troubling allure. It is never just a mindless beast. It possesses a terrifying majesty, a primal power that the hero must absorb to win. To slay a dragon is to become legendary. The monster's power transfers to the victor. The serpent, even as a villain, commands our respect. It is the necessary shadow, the formidable challenge that gives the hero's journey its meaning. We are terrified of it, but we cannot look away. This complexity, this dark magnetism, is what will ensure its survival in art, ready to slither out of the shadows of simplistic evil and into a newer, more ambiguous, modern world. As the world moved into the modern age, our understanding of the human mind deepened, and so did our interpretation of the serpent. It began to slither off the cathedral walls and into the depths of our own psyche. Psychologists like Carl Jung would argue that the serpent is one of our most fundamental archetypes, a universal symbol buried in what he called the collective unconscious. It is, in its purest form, a representation of our subconscious itself, the raw, untamed, and instinctual part of our nature that lies beneath the polished surface of our civilized personas. Think about it. The serpent lives in the dark, in the undergrowth, in the hidden places of the earth, just as our deepest fears, desires, and primal instincts reside in the hidden chambers of our mind. Its appearance in dreams or art, Jung might suggest, is often a message from this subconscious realm. It can be a warning of hidden threat or a symbol of transformation and healing. The serpent becomes a symbol of our own duality. It embodies our most primal desires for sex, power, and knowledge that society often asks us to repress, and it simultaneously embodies our deepest fears, those of betrayal, of the unknown, and of the wild, untamable parts of ourselves we are afraid to acknowledge. It is the ultimate paradox within us, the dangerous, thrilling, and vital life force that we must somehow integrate into our whole being to become truly self-aware. This ecological reading opened the door for another, even more powerful reinterpretation, the feminist reclamation of the serpent. For centuries, the story of Medusa was a prime example of patriarchal storytelling. A beautiful woman punished by the goddess Athena for being violated by Poseidon in the goddess's own temple. Her hair was turned into snakes, and her gaze became a weapon that turned men to stone. She was rendered a monstrous, other, a threat to be decapitated by the hero Perseus. But feminist thinkers and artists asked, whose story is this? They saw Medusa not as a monster, but as a victim of divine injustice. Her serpentine hair, it was reframed. Those snakes became symbols of primal, feminine rage against violation. They became a terrifying defense mechanism for a woman who had been robbed of all other power. Her deadly gaze was reinterpreted as the power of a woman who is no longer willing to be a passive object of the male gaze. A woman whose look alone can challenge and petrify the structures of patriarchal power. In this light, the serpent is reclaimed as a symbol of defiant, untamable femininity. It challenges the Eden narrative where the serpent and the woman are jointly blamed for the fall of man. Instead, it asks us to see the pursuit of knowledge not as a sin, but as an act of courage. The serpent, once used to represent feminine temptation and evil, is now wielded as an emblem of feminine wisdom, power, and righteous anger. So after this journey across millennia and continents, through temples and nightmares, what does this enduring, twisting fascination finally tell us? It tells us that a serpent is far more than just a creature. It is a perfect, living mirror. We have projected onto its sleek, silent form our deepest hopes, our most visceral fears, our awe of life, our terror of death, our desire for wisdom, and our fear for what that knowledge might cost. It is the ultimate symbol of ambiguity. It reminds us that nothing is ever just one thing, that creation and destruction are two sides of the same coin, that healing and poison came from the same source, that with the deepest darkness of our subconscious lies the potential for profound transformation. Every one of us has encountered a serpent in art, whether in a museum, a movie, a book, or a tattoo on a friend's skin. And in that encounter, you've written your own meaning onto it. So now, I want to hear from you. What is your favorite serpent in art? Is it the cunning whisper in a Renaissance painting of Eden? The terrifying majesty of a dragon from your favorite film? The powerful, reclaimed rage of Medusa? Or perhaps something quieter, a serpent on an ancient piece of pottery, or in a childhood story that always stayed with you? Tell me in the comments below. Tell me which serpent captured your imagination, and most importantly, why. Thank you for watching. Until the next one.